My guest today is Dr. Rebekah Louisa Smith, who is an award-winning film festival strategist and founder of the Film Festival Doctor. Now, she creates film festival strategies for filmmakers so their films can be seen by audiences around the world. Now, Rebekah and her team have helped their clients win over 2,500 awards and have secured hundreds of festival screenings, including the Locarno, Tribeca, even Palm Springs, Sundance, and Cinequest, and of course, BFI London Film Festivals, just to name a few. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the Film Festival Doctor herself, the one and only Rebekah Louisa Smith, to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. That was a great intro.
Well, I have read so much about you, and I know that we're both connected on social media. So I see all of your numerous posts and all of the work that you're doing. And I'm so glad to have you on today because I get so many questions from filmmakers from around the world who are trying to navigate this very confusing world of the film festival. So, what does a film festival strategist do, and why would a filmmaker need one?
So they're great questions. So what we do is a strategist helps filmmakers get their films seen in film festivals around the world. And what we need to do is provide for a filmmaker a very streamlined and precise and bespoke festival plan that contains the right kinds of festivals to submit their film to. Doing like a general and vague and broad strategy will get no results. You need to be very precise nowadays, especially for all kinds of films, shorts and features, fiction, non-fiction, the whole lot needs to have the right kind of strategy. So people come to me typically and say, I've made a film, not sure which festivals to send it to, what do we best do with this? Where does it fit on the circuit? How should we move forwards? And we solve those problems by creating for them a very precise festival strategy that contains the right kinds of festivals to submit the film to. It does take time to put this together. It's not a quick 5-minute job. You have to kind of really look at the film and unpick it. How far can it travel? It's easy to program. Who's the audience is a key thing. Which festivals match together? So that's the key things. A lot of stuff goes into creating that strategy because that's the foundation before you build the house.
You know, I find one of the things that I'm not going to say it's confusing, but you really need to have a calendar because let's
Yes.
say someone comes to you and they come to you in the month of April. We'll use April as an example. And many of the film festivals have submission dates, and many of those submission dates can be 6 months before the actual film festival. Uh, you being a strategist, how do you work the calendar? Because I know that some people think that they should be eyeing all of the Oscar qualifying festivals. And so those times are different. But then all of those festivals have different guidelines. Like, the biggest one that we all know is that the Cannes Film Festival, when it comes
Yeah.
to short films, your film has to be under 15 minutes. So
Yes.
for many filmmakers, that may not work for them. So, how do you work the calendar? And depending on the film, should it go Oscar qualifying route, or is it just going to go, let's say, the sci-fi or horror route, for example? For example.
Exactly. So the key thing that we do before we do any submissions and put the plan together is we need to unpack the film, and we have to ask the questions is what kind of film is this and what kinds of festivals will be interested. So a lot of people will say, right, I want to submit to Tribeca and Sundance and Locarno. It's like, well, hang on, have you got a film that those kinds of festivals want? If yes, we'll then start planning around the calendar and around deadlines and around premieres for the ones that have them. If it's not for that level and tier, then we'll do the plan B. And there'll be other festivals that we have to also work around with deadlines coming up as well. So it all depends upon the film. It's the film that guides the whole playing of the strategy. If a filmmaker, is very much like, I want to get on the Oscar circuit, getting Oscar qualified festivals, try and win one of those awards to get Oscar qualified, then we have to look at the film and say, is this going to be the film that could do that and go that far? And we're honest if it can or can't, because you have to be. It's no good saying like, oh, let's give it a shot when we know it won't work, because that's not helpful. That's not what a strategist should do, and it's not right when people are paying you. So it's very important that that we are clear. And we've broken a few hearts. We have to be honest. We have been broken some hearts, but then it's helpful because we're helping them. we're not, trying to sabotage them. We're trying to help them by giving them the right advice to get the right path and to get the kind of results. Filmmakers who, want to try those bigger festivals anyway, even though it might be very difficult to get in, it can come with a lot of emotional upset and it can become demoralizing. And the answer to that is to, always have a strategy. So that's how we do it. And with the calendar, you're right, is a lot of festivals do happen during award season between August and say November, some in December. And there's a lot also in April. So they happen all the time, but a lot will happen in those months. So in terms of planning, if a filmmaker wants to get their film on the circuit the same year it's finished, if it's finished between January and May, it's pretty safe to get it on the festival circuit in the award season time and later on that year in the fall and winter. If it finishes in, say, August, September, it's going to be more likely the following year. So just have to work around, the dates and stuff. Because sometimes people think like, oh, we can submit and the next day it's in. It's a very slow burning process with film festivals. It's not a quick process. It is, a lot of waiting around sometimes, not like 9 months, more like a couple of months, but if you want to get the film on the circuit and you've just made it in August, want to get it in winter, it's going to be very tough that same year, maybe January, February. But again, with deadlines, it'll be the late deadline phase, so it will be more money as opposed to being a bit cheaper during an early bird. So it depends about your budget, but it's always best to do things early. That way you don't spend as much.
I've heard the stories from other filmmakers where they would talk to someone about helping them get their film submitted,
Yep.
and their hearts are broken by certain things that are said about their film, even though their film is great. But a lot of filmmakers need to realize, and you said it, these film festivals have a very particular eye, a very particular way of choosing the films that they want at their festival. And all of these festivals are completely different. I mean, we know that we probably put Cannes at the top of the list because it's the one that everybody wishes they could
Yeah.
be submitted to. But
Yep.
then but everybody has a different eye. So besides, if you just put Cannes off to the side, you have Hollyshorts, you have Tribeca, you have, like you
Yep.
said, Locarno, there's Rotterdam, I mean, Venice, I mean, Berlin, South by Southwest. So
Yep.
everybody's eye is different. My situation with a lot of these filmmakers is take the honesty. Let somebody be brutally honest to you but don't get upset about it because you're a filmmaker. This isn't your last film. Because I think don't and you probably agree, it's also a learning process for the filmmaker that when they do their next film, they're going to be more experienced to understand how the film festival circuit actually works.
Exactly, yes, because you learn a lot when you go to more festivals and you see what they program, how they interact with you. And also, what they'll also notice is that every film festival is different in terms of how they program, how they communicate, how they manage their festival, how they produce it, what the infrastructure is. It is all very different. And you get like, there's certain things that might be similar to other festivals, but the way that they, put it together can be a lot different to, what other festivals do because they haven't got a guide, but they're not given a guidebook to follow. They do it their own way. And filmmakers pick up on that and see, how it works with certain festivals on a certain level and tier, what they look for. And also like when they see film blocks, say shorts blocks when they're at festivals, they can see then the different types of films that get shown. They might not all be independent. They could be some from other like agencies and companies, so they'll notice the patterns. And then I guide them into that world by giving them the right kind of plan to help them on that journey. Some filmmakers, don't always want to do festivals and have to do it because they just want to get out there, but they don't always attend. But it's really worth attending because it's always about meeting people. They're this big, big events where you just can meet so many people and like, and have that connection. And then it can build and grow for a long time and make more films together. That's what they're about, is that communal experience.
It is. And this is why I love the film industry so much. It
Yeah.
is one of the best industries for networking and connection. And when you
Yeah.
do attend the film festivals, you're making new connections. I have heard so many stories of people meeting someone and I hate to say the word competing, but in a way, a competing film. And and then they end up working together on a future project. And so I have interviewed people, filmmakers, where I know that they shared the same cinematographer. They had the same editor, and maybe one of the actors appeared in both of their films. So the networking and the connecting is so wonderful in this industry. And like you said, people need to go. If your film is accepted at a film festival, go and show up, because if you are in a block and you are part of a Q&A, now your voice is going to be heard.
Exactly. And also the Q&As are where really good networking happens. It's not, you don't just have to, you don't just wait until there's a networking event happening. It happens 24/7 at a festival. I've met people like in the line for the restroom and make good connections there. I know. And after a Q&A is really when things move, because then they're like, oh, you did that film. And they want to talk to you about that. And then, oh, can we speak to your actor or whatever it might be? So they're absolutely, and the Q&As are the magical part, because like, you get to share your story and talk about how it was made and anecdotes, and it's always fun, and then how what you learn from it is also good. People can then tell if you're the one they want to work with when they hear you in a Q&A talking about the film and the process and what's next for you and what your ambitions are. They're really important. And this happens at festivals of all different types of level and tiers. It's not just Sundance or Cannes. It happens at really every single reputable festival worth their soul. This same things happens, like meeting great connections. Even festivals which are maybe even new and up and coming, there's really good people there. I met the guy who, what's his name, that runs Netflix, creating Netflix. He was at a festival locally in Texas and was just happily chatting away. No one knew it wasn't like a big star, just he was there because it was a film that he worked on was there. In a different context, but it's like, wow, and you wouldn't expect to see that, but he was there. And we're like, wow, this is so cool. And, so because he was local and he was there. So these things happen. And also there's a festival in the UK called, I love it. It's called the Ramsgate Film Festival. It's a brilliant festival. And it was new, but, she's a well-connected actress, and that was a, other job that she did. And then she brings all these people in from the US or these big PR companies and all this kind of thing. And it's so much fun. You learn a lot. So they add a lot of value. And you learn as well. If you're open to learning and all that kind of thing, it'll be absolutely fine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've had filmmakers where we get into this big discussion, even off camera, about film.
Yeah.
And then I'm
Yeah.
sending them a list of screeners and making little notes. I said, watch this film because you're going to see, maybe look at the colorization, or look how they improved the storyline, or this film raised the bar, because it's a learning process. It doesn't matter if you have 3 films under your belt or if you have 20. The learning process will never end. But for you, Rebekah, how many overall film festivals are there to submit to? Because I know that there are about 150, 160 Oscar qualifying film festivals. And should those be the only ones a filmmaker should submit to? Or, of course, they come to you to find the real answer to that question.
Yeah. First of all, they're coming to me to find the answer to that question, because everything's very specific and very bespoke to each filmmaker. I recommend that no filmmaker, no matter how strong the film is to just focus upon the Oscar qualified festivals, because they're very competitive and you have to make sure that when you submit that everything is very bespoke to each one. So for example, there's 181 qualifying film festivals for short films which are Academy qualified around the world for shorts, and 32 for documentary features. So they're the ones that have the options to win those prizes. There's other ones which are, some are BAFTA qualified and BIFA qualified for the UK British Independent Film Awards. But I recommend not to, because it's good at, switch to the ones which are going to be right for the film, but also branch out and do like the other reputable regional festivals and ones that can help achieve your goals, other types of your goals as well. Local ones, for example, in Texas, if you're a Texas filmmaker, like Lone Star and Oak Cliff Film Festival. There's a lot that you could submit to that will really help and meet the right people and, expand and grow. They're all there to help. It's very difficult when it comes to just submitting to the Oscar qualified film festivals, because they do get the most amount of submissions, and that is true. I know that I spoke this week with Hollyshorts and Tribeca, and Ben at Tribeca told me this year it's now just surpassed 8,000 short film submissions, and Hollyshorts is edging up now over 6,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year, I know that Tribeca had over 8,000. Hollyshorts had 6,100.
Yeah.
I understood that Tribeca's submissions, they accept, 2,000? But Hollyshorts accepts 400.
Yes, yes, yeah. So no, Tribeca with shorts, it's like I think it's under 100. I think they're trying to now this year maybe try and make room for more short films than just having.
Oh, okay. Because it was always confusing because I would see films that would be accepted at Tribeca, but
Yep.
then not accepted at Hollyshorts, or
Mm,
vice versa. And I think I only saw one or two films last year that were accepted to both.
mm.
And so what what their eye is looking for, because
Yes,
everybody's eye is different. You
yes,
have West Coast, you have East Coast. So, but then at the same time, I was talking to some filmmakers who were accepted at Holly Shorts. They were also accepted at Flickerfest in Rhode Island, but they decided to attend and premiere at Holly Shorts. But then Rhode Island, they want to be the official premiere, but they were both the film festivals were in the same week, and I
yeah.
thought that was a disservice to the filmmakers.
Yeah, because with premier policies, some festivals, sometimes festivals say they haven't got a premier policy, but they do prefer a certain type of premier for a certain type of film, depending on what the film is and who's in it and many other factors. So yeah, so it is a shame when that comes in. A lot of these festivals, which are Oscar qualified for shorts, can be more flexible with premieres and be a bit more smaller. So not like world international, like Cannes and Berlin require, which is big ones, but they can be, like LA premiere for Holly Shorts now. Tribeca doesn't have a premiere policy anymore for shorts, but they're open and flexible, but they do like some bigger ones here and there. It just depends upon the film. It's all down to the film with those kinds of festivals and how strong the message is, how important it is for the festivals, mission statement and values and what they look to screen. And also what's important for them too is, who it's by. If it's a local filmmaker or if it's shot somewhere in, say, New York or LA, that'll be very important. Again, so it's a really variable thing. The way that I manage that is just like, speaking to festivals, telling them what kind of premieres we could offer and what they would want, ask them, what would you want for this film? Then I can work around it for the client, and see what goes on behind the scenes.
I love that. I learned that this year Sundance, which I wish was not in January, because it's in the heat of the Oscar run. So I really wish
Yes.
Sundance was closer into the spring. But anyway, they had over 11,000 submissions in the short film category for only 57
Yeah.
slots. So when you
Yeah.
get accepted, and I know you know this already, but I want all of the filmmakers to understand this. I have seen, if you are accepted by Sundance, if you're accepted by Cannes, and we'll just pick those two, and maybe possibly South by Southwest. That is such a big deal. Doesn't that help catapult your film, that when your film is submitted to other film festivals and they may look down and go, oh, they were at such and such? Doesn't that give them the edge to be accepted to the others?
It can do. So when, say, a submission from, say, a film that's screened at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, where we are, say it was selected there, and they submit to Tribeca and Holly Shorts, then it could help because they're like, oh, okay, got into South by, it's hard to get into. It must be a certain type of, type of narrative, must be interesting. So they're going to think, okay, it's going to be good quality at the very least. And it might not fit what they're looking for, because sometimes what festival programmers have to do is sometimes they get a really good film they love, but they have to build the program around it. Or if there might not be enough films to build a program that's going to be an hour and a half or an hour, 40 minutes of shorts. So it might work or it might not. It just depends what else is with it to make it worth the while. Because sometimes, for example, with genre, sometimes festivals don't always get the best genre quality. It can be the same or not the best quality. Sometimes they have a really good year. Again, it all varies on what the output is then, who submits and when. Obviously, festivals only get what they get submitted, so they have to work with what they have. So it is important, people, to definitely submit if you've got a great film, because it could help everybody else get submitted too, and selected as well. Also, what's interesting is I spoke with these festivals actually just this week for my own podcast show, and they were saying that I said, do you get a lot of mockumentary? And they're like, no. And when we do, sometimes it just doesn't quite work to put around a program. Because that's what it was. That's about it. It's building the program. It's like, do we accept mockumentary? Yes. Do we get many? No. Can we put a program around it? Not always. So again, it's got to be really focused upon, is this for the audience? Do they have a lot of this get submitted? And how do we stand out with a dramatic short? Because that gets a lot of submissions. That's the most frequently submitted one that gets the most amount of dramatic short. And that has to stand out because there's thousands of others that will be submitting of the same genre. That is a tough one. I always say to clients now that if you're going to make a dramatic short, make it, a very personal story to you, or something you can really be authentic and fresh and real and raw, as opposed to, doing something that you're interested in but haven't got any experience in. You have to show through the filmmaking experience and how it matters.
Yeah, I mean, for the past 3 years, I mean, the dramatic shorts, oh my gosh, the list is tens of thousands long.
Yes.
And I was talking to an Oscar winner, I think it was last year, and he said, what we need some dramatic shorts, but we need to see them maybe fall into either comedy or the horror genre, but at a very high cinematic level. Not just to
Yes.
create something that's funny or scary that only ends up at all of the horror film fest, but those that could actually break the barrier in major film festivals. And I thought, exactly. And it has to be done correctly and really to enhance the genre, because after a while, I mean, after 2 or 3 years, I'm looking at all of these shorts going, there's not too many of them that are outside the box. A lot of them
Exactly.
are following the same type of formula. It's like in 2024, the five that were nominated in the best live action short for the Oscars, they were very similar in nature. This year we have five that, in a way, are actually completely different.
Yes. Yes, no, that's true. You're absolutely spot on about that, is being cinematic, and being different. I mean, obviously, a lot of people will use the same formula for dramatic short. It can be boy meets girl, boy loses girl, and it's tired and it's cliched, and nothing is new or different about that. And that's what filmmakers really need to remember: is make it fresh. Think about how many dramatic short films these festival programmers see. And one thing that Ben was saying is, I just love to get immersed in that world. World building is really important when it comes to doing dramatic short film. It's very crucial to have that in place, that it's a different kind of world and that we're seeing something new, and also very high level acting and performances that are from the right kind of cast and crew. So yeah, the ones that actually they've been Oscar nominated this year are, really interesting. Like you said, diverse. So when you see them in a block of shorts, and they've got them screening in Dallas next week, I've seen a few of them, is that they're eclectic, like you were saying. They're fresh and different, and it's not like we're seeing the same film again. It's not. It's something new, and it's just to breathe in fresh air into a very tired genre. A lot of festivals are receiving a lot of tragic, dramatic short films, and that's becoming like a little bit of a cliche in itself. So
Yeah,
again,
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, sometimes when I read when I read the synopsis or the byline, I'm like, oh. So I have to space my viewing out because I don't want three tragic shorts to watch in a row, because it can be a really big downer. And so
Yeah.
I have to see what I'm looking at and mix it up. But I also understand that you have an Oscars submission service. What is that?
So what we also do is we help filmmakers complete and manage their Oscar submission. So a lot of filmmakers want to, get Academy qualified and submit to the Oscars, which we can help them do that. Now, there's two different ways you can do it to qualify your film. You can't just, as you know, you can't just go online and submit like you would on Film Freeway. You can't do that with the Oscars. It's a different type of process. You first of all have to be able to qualify the film to become eligible to submit. So the one way you can do it is through the film festival circuit by winning a Oscar qualifying award at a film festival that's Academy qualifying, i.e. Hollyshorts. They have 4 qualifying awards that one can win to qualify to the Oscars. In fact, all 5 films that have got Oscar nominated for Best Animation all screened at Hollyshorts last year. So they're going to win. Whoever's going to win is going to be alumni of Hollyshorts. But there is that route. If you win one of their qualifying awards, festivals qualifying awards, you can then submit to the Oscars. The other way is if you don't win one of those awards, or you don't want to do festivals, is you can qualify it by doing a release theatrically in a theater in a qualifying city. So obviously these qualifying cities are obviously New York and LA. They always have been. There's some more now being added. The Bay Area in San Francisco, Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas Fort Worth. So Dallas Fort Worth is now a qualifying city. So I've done some releases here for shorts and features. So you can qualify it that way. It is obviously more money than obviously if you win an award. You haven't got to pay; it's free. So it is like an easier way to fast track with, and obviously cheaper. But it's another option. So that's what we do is help those filmmakers submit and qualify their film for the Oscars.
So what are yeah, and I find the whole process, you know, um, it's interesting to watch. I
It is.
also I like the guidelines set by BAFTA than the guidelines that the Oscars set because the BAFTA is harder to get in, and in a way, they're not watching as many films like the Oscars do. Because I have Academy members who I know that are on the short film committee, and it can be exhausting. And
Yes.
so, but for you, what are some of your favorite film festivals?
So, favorite festivals would be, I have quite a lot. I think the first one, which is very close to my heart, will be the Abattoir Horror Festival in Wales, because that's where I began my career in film festivals. And if there was no abattoir, there would be no Film Festival Doctor, because it was during my time when I was working with them, I noticed there was a gap in the market. And there was nobody offering at the time, and there isn't many of us now that do this. It's a full-time job who were doing festival strategy and consultancy. It was very much like a side business and wasn't really a big thing, but people needed it because everyone was needing help to get into festivals. They were like, we don't know what we're doing. We just need some guidance. And I was like, I think I can help with this. I think I'm going to set this brand up. So that was thanks to Abattoir. Other ones I love are Sedona Film Festival is one of my favorite festivals. The guy, Patrick Weiss, who runs that, is the force of nature. He is absolutely wonderful. The films are great. It's a great place for a festival. I try and go this year. I've got some films there. I've got some short films there this year. So fingers crossed. But it's just it's very magical. And you go through a vortex if you're lucky. And then like you're at spiritual enlightenment. It's quite a place. And lots of filmmakers love it because it's a very different energy when you're there. And obviously great programming and great filmmaker benefits and parties each night. It's a lot of fun. I also love Fantastic Fest in Austin, which is just a brilliant genre festival, great energy, great programming. And I love all the festivals in Dallas because they're close to my heart now that I live here. And I love loads in London because that's where I've seen them all grow and been part of them. I love actually, there's one in the UK which I've seen start from the very beginning to now being a BIFA qualified festival, which is the Beeston Film Festival. I remember going there in the first year when I was in London, and when I seem to see it now, it's BIFA qualified, and I'm over here in the US. It's so great to see it grow. So there's a lot of good ones in my heart there. I do obviously love the markets as well. I think probably my favorite market would be Berlinale, because a lot of business gets done there. Even though it's so cold, a lot of business gets done in Berlinale.
Well, it's like Sundance. People go to
Yes,
Sundance for one reason. It's a buyer's market. That's why they go to Sundance, and it's more business like than I think other festivals. Now, I also understand that you work with film distributors. So, what is involved with working with one of those?
so there's two different ways we do that. So sometimes some distribution companies want to get a film on the circuit before it gets released, either worldwide or in a certain territory. Working with Netflix on one now, which is a very good documentary feature. It gets released in the summer, but they want to do festivals first, so it gets exposure for the filmmaker because it's a new filmmaker. And then also what we do is some distribution companies are looking for films to, just sell and distribute and get out there and, and get sold. So filmmakers of ours who are looking for that, we always put them in touch with them and connect them to help them get the film sold and seen. A lot of filmmakers who have features, the goal is distribution, and festivals help get noticed. But sometimes we're just giving a little bit of a leg up to our connections and say, look, these films need distribution. Would it be of interest? And see if they can do anything with it.
I love that. And you're looking at 2025 just to be as busy as last year?
Yeah, it's crazy. So we've had a lot of, already it's loads of moving parts every day, festival all the time. So it's wonderful. I mean, it's super crazy. A lot of, so a lot of stuff to manage and contain, but we're used to it. We do it all the time. So we love it. And we've got a lot of festivals coming up. to travel. And we've got some other ones now in the pipeline getting all solidified. So it's super exciting.
Oh, I can't wait. And ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rebekah Louisa Smith is known worldwide as the Film Festival Doctor, with a very successful track record in helping filmmakers find the right festivals for their film, as well as creating a very successful strategy. So if you are a filmmaker and you are overwhelmed with all that goes into creating a successful film festival campaign, go to thefilmfestivaldoctor.com to learn more and contact her and her team. And Rebekah, I want to thank you so much for helping all of us get a better picture of what it takes to have a successful film festival submission experience.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been a great interview, and thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. And as for me, ladies and gentlemen, you're either going to see me at the movies or from the red carpet.